You've noticed it, even if you haven't said it out loud. The tighter your chest gets, the quieter your life becomes, and the more doors seem to close at once, the more strange protection shows up in the smallest details. A message you didn't send gets delayed. A plan you thought you needed collapses at the last second. Someone's opinion of you shifts without warning, and you feel pushed to the edge of yourself. It doesn't look like a blessing. It looks like pressure. It looks like being singled out, like being watched by problems that know your name. And yet, in the middle of that, there's a thin thread of calm that refuses to break. That is not your imagination. That is the part of you Allah did not leave unattended. When life starts stripping you down, it's often because something is being prepared in you that can't be carried with the old habits, the old attachments, the old need to be understood. The first temptation is to interpret the tension as rejection. You start telling yourself, if Allah loved me, it wouldn't be this hard, or if I were doing the right thing, my path would open smoothly. But the Qur'an doesn't paint it that way. The prophets were not spared from hardship. Their hardship was part of their refinement. Tests are not proof of being abandoned, and ease is not proof of being approved. Sometimes the most dangerous moment is when everything is comfortable because the heart can drift without noticing. Sometimes the most merciful moment is when you're stopped because the stopping saves you from a road that would have taken pieces of you can't afford to lose. The test isn't just what happens to you, it's what it pulls out of you. The anxiety, the anger, the impulse to chase validation, the urge to compromise your standards just to feel safe again. Those are the things being exposed so you can see them clearly. There are two ways people respond when the pressure rises. One is to scramble, to force outcomes, to make calls they shouldn't make, to say yes to what they don't respect, to borrow peace from anywhere, even if it comes with shame attached. The other response is better and harder, to hold your line, to keep your prayers steady, to keep your tongue clean, to keep your patience from turning bitter. That second response looks like losing from the outside because it doesn't create instant results, but it builds something unseen, a kind of inner authority. It trains you to rely on Allah without needing constant signs. It teaches tawakkul in a way that theory never could. If that distinction is landing in your chest right now, you can leave a calm, like on this video. It helps the message reach others who are carrying the same silent weight, and it keeps this space anchored in something sincere rather than noisy. Now, let's talk about the part you don't want to say because it sounds too specific. Money. Not fantasy money, not a life where you never struggle again, but a shift in provision that comes from a direction you weren't tracking. When Allah opens a door of rizq, it often arrives wrapped in timing, not in drama. It can be delayed salary that finally clears, a refund you forgot about, a debt someone suddenly decides to settle, a work opportunity that wasn't available when you were begging for it, but becomes possible once your character is steadier. Or it can be something more subtle, the ability to earn without losing your dignity, the chance to rebuild without panic, the relief of having your essentials covered after a season of feeling exposed. The point isn't that you manifested it, the point is that Allah gives and withholds with wisdom. And sometimes He holds you in tightness until you stop worshipping the outcome. When your heart stops bargaining, provision can arrive without becoming a test that destroys you. Hidden enemies are real, but they're not always people plotting in dark rooms. Sometimes the hidden enemy is the version of you that would sell your future for a short breath of relief. And sometimes it's the whisper that says, cut corners, nobody will know. Or go back to what Allah already pulled you out of, at least it's familiar. And yes, sometimes it is people. Quiet jealousy, passive sabotage. The friend who smiles but hopes you stay small, so they feel safe. You're not asked to become paranoid. You're asked to become discerning. There's a reason you felt pushed into solitude, why certain gatherings started tasting empty, why you couldn't laugh the same way at the same things. Allah sometimes separates you before He strengthens you, because not everyone deserves front row access to your growth. Protection can look like being left out. It can look like unanswered messages. It can look like a door closing so hard you finally stop chasing it. Picture a very ordinary scene. You're standing in a grocery store doing that quiet math in your head that nobody else can see. You pick up an item, check the price, put it back. Your phone lights up with a notification you don't want to open because you're already tired. You smile at the cashier like you're fine. You walk to your car and sit for a moment longer than necessary, staring at the steering wheel, letting the loneliness hit you in waves. You make dua with a voice that almost doesn't come out, not because you doubt Allah, but because you're exhausted from explaining your life to people who don't understand it anyway. That scene matters. It's not small to Allah. The Prophet taught that Allah is with the broken-hearted, close to those who are humbled. And that kind of quiet struggle is a form of worship when you don't let it turn you cruel, when you don't let it turn you dishonest, when you keep your prayer even if your tears come more easily than your words. But here's the nuance people miss. Not every delay is spiritual, and not every hardship is a sign that you are special. Sometimes you are tested, and sometimes you are also being taught to take responsibility. Islam doesn't encourage passivity dressed up as faith. Sabr isn't sitting still while your life burns. Sabr is restraint, steadiness, and persistence while you do what is right. Tawakkul isn't neglecting effort, it's doing the work while trusting that the outcome belongs to Allah. So, if a provision shift is coming, it may arrive through a door that requires you to show up differently, better boundaries, cleaner habits, better financial discipline, fewer impulsive purchases used to numb pain, a more honest look at how you spend your time. Allah can send relief, but He also trains you to carry relief without letting it corrupt you. That training often looks like waiting longer than you want. There's also a counterexample that matters. Some people receive sudden money and it becomes their downfall. It inflates their ego, revives old addictions, attracts the wrong company, and makes them forget who they were when they were desperate. They start speaking to others with less mercy because they forgot the taste of need. That's why the unexpected part isn't always a gift in itself. Sometimes it's a mirror. It reveals whether you are asking for provision as a tool to serve what is good, or as a shortcut to feel superior, or as a bandage for wounds you refuse to treat properly. So, if you've been in a season of being humbled, of being forced to make hard choices, of learning to say no to what you used to chase, it may be that Allah is protecting you from receiving something too early. If you want to reflect honestly, leave a comment answering one question. What is the hardest thing you've had to learn to let go of during this season of waiting? Spiritual discipline is not glamorous, but it changes the texture of your days. When you guard your prayers, even when motivation disappears, something in you becomes unshakable. When you lower your gaze, when you stop feeding envy by watching other people's highlight reels, when you clean your income and your intentions, you create space for barakah. Barakah doesn't always mean more numbers. Sometimes it means fewer disasters. It means your money goes further because Allah keeps waste away from you. It means a small amount carries you through because Allah places contentment in your heart. It means the opportunity that arrives doesn't come with humiliation attached. A lot of what you call bad luck is actually the weight of undisciplined decisions stacked over time. And a lot of what you call miracle is consistent obedience finally meeting divine timing. When you stop demanding immediate proof and start building quiet consistency, you become the kind of person who can receive without being ruined by receiving. When provision begins to shift, it often shows up alongside a strange emotional test. You might notice your tongue being tested. Will you brag? Will you complain? Will you announce everything to people who don't pray for you? You might notice your relationships being tested. Will you run back to those who dismissed you just to prove you're doing better, or will you remain dignified and kind without needing revenge? You might notice your heart being tested. Will you become attached to the money itself, or will you remember that the one who provided it can take it away, and the one who withheld it can open again? This is where unseen myrrh becomes obvious. Allah doesn't just give, He teaches you how to hold. He doesn't just remove hardship, He removes the version of you that would have wasted the relief. If you felt isolated, misunderstood, or forced into a quieter life, don't rush to escape it. That quiet may be the workshop where your character is being shaped. And here is the final strike, soft but clear. You are not being prepared to feel powerful. You are being prepared to be faithful. The most important change isn't that money might arrive unexpectedly. It's that when it does, you won't worship it, fear it, or use it to harm yourself. You'll recognize it as a trust. You'll spend with balance. You'll help without showing off. You'll protect your peace without needing to announce your boundaries. And if the amount is smaller than your fantasies, you won't collapse because your reliance was never on a number. Divine timing doesn't come to impress people. It comes to place things where they won't destroy you. So keep your saber clean, keep your effort honest, keep your prayers steady, and keep your heart from becoming bitter. When Allah decides to open, it won't need your panic to force it. It will arrive with the kind of quiet certainty that makes you look back and realize the whole time you were being carried.